right, we're back, part 3 of the AI CEO journey. Now, I've been kind of neglecting this series, to be honest. I know it's an excuse, but I've had 3 really big projects that are almost done. So after that, I'll be able to spend a lot more time kind of building up this series and actually experimenting with these and like recording the results. But for now, we're just kind of building up the systems to actually let these things like run the company, essentially, right? So in the last episode, we built an actual GPT like on OpenAI's platform, which is great. I've been using that one quite a lot and just like kind of recording some results, recording my own responses to the question. So for example, if I went in and I asked it like, hey, this client wants X, Y, and Z, and then I'll record whatever it outputs, and then I'll also answer that same question as I would answer it, as I think the best way to go about that scenario would be. And then in a future video, I'm going to run a cosine similarity test to actually see like how accurate it is to what I would say. And then obviously we're going to fine tune it and get it like really accurate. But in this one, I've actually gone ahead and built a an assistant. So if we go to my dashboard here, so this is the API dashboard for OpenAI. So you can see we're in the assistants tab right here. So here's the AI CEO. I copy and pasted my instructions in. We've got the model and the 2 knowledge bases down here, the 2 files. So the difference with the playground in the assistants tab is that you have a thread ID up here. We don't have one because I haven't sent a message. If I send a message, you'll see that a thread ID will appear. There we go. There's a thread ID. So here's its instructions. So yeah, super straightforward. But anyway, here's the thread ID. And along with the thread ID, we also have an assistant ID, right? Which is right here. So the assistant ID allows us to kind of call it dynamically within the API. So obviously you can't access GPTs in the OpenAI like in their platform dynamically if you're outside of the platform. So you have to access them directly in their interface. However, when you're building with assistants, you don't have to do that. So it's great. And then it gives you a lot more flexibility. It's a little more technical. It's not as straightforward, but once you kind of dial it in, it can get super good. And then you can start fine tuning your model and so on and so forth. And it just becomes an absolute weapon. It's an absolute threat to humanity. And so that's kind of the goal with this. Yeah, let me move this again. Yeah, so that's like the goal with this, to just really dial it in and have it be more dynamic. So in the hopes of making it more dynamic, I built this automation right here. So this automation is going to watch for files in a folder in Google Drive, download it, and then we have a Google Sheet that will essentially store all of the file data that we need, the Google ID, etc. And then if the file exists, we delete the old one, upload the new file. And if the file does not exist, if it's a brand new document regarding like things that the CEO should know about the company, things that are going to be like policy moving forward, whatever it may be, then we upload it and it'll create a new document in the sheet that will then get uploaded to right here to our files category. So you can see knowledge doc, test doc right here. So let me just show you exactly like what that process looks like. So here's the file that we already have uploaded into our Google Sheet. So let me just modify it. Let me just put the word yes in it. So technically that's modifying it. You can see it's been saved to Drive. Now, if we actually have a look at the sheet here are the 2 tests we have. So the first row, CEO, these are going to eventually be split into 2 files, but for now it's just all in one. It's a little messy, but we have our CEO, our actual assistant ID. It doesn't have a Google ID, it doesn't have a link. But then these are our files. So we have our Google ID, we have our dynamic link that we can actually look and see which version of the file we are updating and changing. And then our file ID that will be saved into the OpenAI platform. So if we go back to make, so we change the file. If we click choose where to start on our starting module, we'll just hit all. And then we go to run once. You should see here, it's going through. The file already exists, which is true. We've just changed it. So what will happen is it's going to delete, re-upload, and then paste the new file into our database here. So as you can see, that is exactly what's happened. It was the knowledge document right here, and it has updated our file ID. If you go back and look, it was different before. So it dynamically updates it. And if we go to OpenAI here, we can see that this is at 4:44 p.m. It's currently 7:36. If we refresh the page, we'll see 7:36. Great. Awesome. Because you can only have a maximum of 20 documents per assistant. And depending on how many assistants you have, you know, say you have 5 assistants, multiply that by 20, that's 100. So you can only have 100 documents. So you don't want to be flooding the files section. Now, the part that gets interesting, right? So that's how we dynamically update documents. I should have mentioned. So that's all from this folder right here. So it's called GPT Workforce. I have all my folders right here within my Google Drive. So this one is just watching the CEO folder. So every time I want something new, I'll literally just copy and paste it into a Word doc. It can be a Google Sheet, and we'll toss it in here. It'll analyze it, add it to the knowledge base. So it's really dynamic, and it's just a really good solution, and it saves you having to go into the platform, log in, do all that stuff, and it dynamically updates, so you don't have to worry about a thing. You just throw documents in here. You can even create an automation to dynamically update this, right? But we're just gonna leave this part manual for now. All right, so this is when it gets really fun. Again, super simple Slack automation here. So this is going to be connected to Slack, obviously. Slack channel goes without being said. And yeah, so this is just watching our public channel messages within Slack. Now, this is the same Slack I've used for my AI bot right here using the Assistance API. This is just essentially a much simpler version, obviously using much less code and make.com, right? But this is where the actual interface will be that we'll be able to chat with the assistant right in here. So if we go back to here, and let's put a message first. So let me just copy and paste this, write a paragraph about the benefits of AI in my personal life. We'll send this, so this is in the queue. Now if we come back to here and we click choose where to start on the starting module here, we'll select that message I just sent, write me a paragraph about AI in my personal life, boom, and then we'll hit run once. So it'll send that request to the assistant, to our CEO assistant, and then after that module is finished processing, after our assistant sends a message back, it will create a new message in Slack. So there we go, it's been complete. If we go back to Slack, we should have a message here. Yeah, great. There we go, all right in Slack. But with a lot less code and a lot more straightforward in make.com. Now, where I could see this being extremely useful, is when you start to build out your workforce, as I intend to, not only for yourself, but this could be an amazing solution for clients, other agencies that really utilize Slack or Discord to get things done and to actually send messages to each other, to talk to each other, to communicate important information, client information. Maybe there's channels where clients message them in Slack or Discord. And once you build out your portfolio of agents, so like client success coach, CEO, CTO, CMO, you get all these different roles covered. And each role can be called dynamically within Slack. So you could be like, you could actually create bots for each of them in Slack. And then you could assign that GPT to that bot, or sorry, that assistant to that bot. And then they could all have different names in Slack that you could dynamically reference. So it just gets really interesting, especially when you start to actually add function calls to these assistants. So all the assistant is just taking this in and you get your assistants list right here. So I just picked the CEO, right? But if you actually started to add function calls into these assistants. So let's just go back to my CEO here. So you could add a function right here, right? Drop like a calendar function in here. Yeah, other functions, whatever it may be, right? Drop it in here. And then once that's all good, then you could also reference that in here. And you could get a message being like, hey, this client needs this. It's a little lost. They're a little lost. And then you could kind of tell it how to fix the issue. And your CEO could actually go out, if it had the correct functions that it had access to and the tools, it could actually go out and fix that issue and actually really support the client one-on-one and kind of hold their hand through like the onboarding process or whatever it may be, right? So once you start to expand that, it gets really interesting. So yeah, that's kind of it for this video. I just wanted to kind of dive into like this. Obviously the other one, save those changes. Obviously my other one. Dive into this one too, and just kind of show you the thought process behind these small automations that compound, right? It's the aggregation of marginal gains. Always. That's always how it goes. That's always how you win. And so that's these. And I think I'll be utilizing this a lot more, especially with those other, with my other GPTs. So I'm going to build one for my client success coach, CTO, finance manager, and like, maybe I'll make tutorials on them, maybe I won't. It'll be a lot of the same stuff, but just with a different training set, obviously, because it needs to be a specialist in a different area of knowledge. So once those are done, I'll probably make a full video documenting the whole thing and actually how they communicate with each other and talk to each other. Along with the cosine similarity test and obviously fine tuning my CEO. I'm going to keep adding documents to this, just better defining its role, better defining its processes. I'll make a video on adding functions to it, and I think it's going to be super fascinating. Just moving forward, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Well, it's an experiment, right? We'll see what happens. But yeah, hope you got some value from this. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.